Thank you, Zoltan. It's a honor, a pleasure to moderate this panel with these awesome guys. We should move a bit this chair because it's a bit risky. Well, you get your microphone. Marketing in the metaverse. How will Web3 NFT and NFT help define the future of iGaming and sporting events? Okay, some challenging keywords in this title: metaverse, Web3 NFT. And I don't consider myself an expert in metaverse, and I wonder who considers himself, herself an expert on such a challenging topic. Is it maybe who is expert in virtual reality? Is it who is expert in augmented reality? Is it who mastered blockchain technologies? Or is it who knows all the legal nuances or business nuances for the metaverse? And the good news is that we have a combined expertise of all, of different profiles and different backgrounds that represent all those expertises. So we have Haley with the legal background around media and entertainment. We have Manuel with an expert and an entrepreneur on the augmented reality environment and field. We have Daniel with an awesome solution for virtual reality for casinos, and we have Marcin, who is a really savvy person around blockchain technologies and businesses around it. So my name is Jose Uribe. I am head of innovation at All in Global, a language solution provider specialized to the iGaming industry, most probably working for many of the companies represented here. And I'm product design engineer, and I've been involved in many, in the disruption in terms of technology in many fields. 2 years in helping All in Global moving forward in terms of technology. And I would like you guys to introduce yourselves, tell us a bit about yourselves. Let's start with Haley.
Hi everyone, I'm Haley. I am a partner at global law firm Herbert Smith Freehills. For those that don't know, we're a firm that has offices across from Australia all the way to New York. I don't know if I've done that right in terms of geography. I'm based in our London office and I head our media and entertainment practice there. So my work is all non-contentious and covers deals as well as some advisory and regulatory work across all bits of media and entertainment, but for the purpose of today, including gaming, gambling, and then the other bits obviously do kind of impact when we start talking about the metaverse and NFTs.
Thank you, Haley. Manuel?
So I'm Manuel, I'm co-founder at Mazing. We are an augmented reality startup, but growing quite quickly as the market is really taking off right now in all different niches from e-commerce to sporting. So there is a lot going on, and I will be very happy to explain a few use cases around AR in sporting especially.
Thank you. Daniel?
Hello, my name is Daniel. I'm founder and CEO of Try NFT. So we are developing the solutions for live casino in the metaverse. With our technologies, we are bringing the live dealers into the metaverse. We are discovering technologies like Unreal Engine, AI, and many, many others. So I believe we will go deeply into that during the panel. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Marcin Szatecki, and I introduced yesterday, so very shortly. I'm technical blockchain consultant, technical outreach specialist in BSV Bitcoin Association, and co-founder of the managing director of the Polish Blockchain Association. Thank you.
Okay, metaverse. And yesterday we were discussing a bit in another panel about, we were hearing about a metaverse, VR, AR, And we want to, in order to avoid repeating and also to explore further the topic, we want to keep an applied and a business approach, like how do we take advantage of the metaverse in the gaming and sport industries to make business out of it. Actually, that was one of the main questions from the audience yesterday. And I think it's a relevant conversation. And when we look at the size of the market for the metaverse, and when we look at the projections of growth, it's impressive. You can see there are projections of 30% growth per year, reaching more than $1,000 billion in 2030. So it's interesting to wonder how, from all these perspectives present here, in the iGaming industry and also in the sport industry, how can we get ready as companies to do business in the metaverse? So I will pass it on to Manuel.
Yeah, again, when we talk about the metaverse, I really want to differentiate here between VR and AR. And as we discussed yesterday, now I really want to dive into some use cases already. So, any Manchester City fans here? Nobody? Just laughing? So, Manchester City, they recently announced that they are gonna recreate their stadium, Etihad, I think, into the metaverse, more or less. So they will create a 3D model of the stadium, and besides people sitting in the stadium, they will sell additional tickets where you can see a game in virtual reality. So first of all, it's a great add-on for people who like to stream football games in their own home. They can now see it more immersive. And additionally, it's a great additional revenue for Manchester City Club. In terms of AR, I mean, there is also a lot going on. Recently, Qatar, during the World Cup, this was the first ever real-time AR use case they did. So it was like this. They provided an application where you could scan the players on the field, and during scanning those players, they were overlaid with additional information. So it basically enhanced your real-time viewing experience. And also hardware-based, there are already AR swimming classes. When you're swimming, like while you're swimming, additional information is displayed, sporting classes. And Soltan was very, very great. He brought his AR running glasses, and I can talk so much about that now, but if you really try it out, it's a different story. So he will pass that around, try it out, let me know what you think, and really consider this is just the beginning, and so much is going on.
Exciting news, Manuel, thank you. Marcin, what do you think? How can companies in the gaming and sporting industries can get ready to do business in the metaverse?
So I think it's a very difficult question, because we have metaverse today, and the metaverse in the future, from my perspective, will be much different like today. So as Manuel mentioned, that this is a stadium, so we can scan the stadium. So it's something like the startup, the mature company today trying to learn how they can use metaverse, how they can. The metaverse is the interface between the business and the end user. So the mature company today trying to understand how they connect with the client. They try to learn how to monetize a metaverse. But the startups are much more brave. They scan the stadium. They do much more. So I think, and if you ask me in 19th how the internet will look like in the future and how we can monetize, the difference was, I thought that it will be much different today and in the 19th. So I think with metaverse it's the same. Today we are trying to monetize, we try to learn, but in the next few years the metaverse will be something different. much more sensors, IoT devices, and it will be something different.
Okay, now that you mention devices, I would like to hear from a person that is creating a hands-on solution. Daniel, what can you tell us? Like, how can casinos, online casinos, prepare for the metaverse?
So very important moment to understand basically what is the metaverse, because basically AR, VR is just the tools to explore the metaverse. AR allows you to drop the 3D assets there. VR allows you to see what's happening around and interact with the simple movements of your head, for example. But the metaverse, originally, it's the 3D space developed on the blockchain technology. So that's very important fact. Today, basically everything is the metaverse. If someone familiar with the games like World of Warcraft or Counter-Strike is the metaverse as well. But if we speak for the iGaming, the blockchain is not really a necessary part because a lot of live casinos and iGaming companies, they're still supporting only fiat, not crypto. From our perspective side, our project perspective, so basically what we are doing, we are focusing only on live casino factor, because there are already solutions on the market like Decentraland Metaverse, where people can play blackjack or any other casino games, but they're automated. So basically the slots are there, the simple blackjack is there, for example. What's left, it's only the human factor in the metaverse. And definitely VR is not a solution, because if we imagine the casino studio with hundreds of dealers, with hundreds of tables, all wearing the VR headsets, joysticks, and then after 30 minutes of the game, there's a dealer change procedure, and they start changing the VR. I mean, it's unreal. So basically what we did, we developed the artificial intelligence software, which tracking the body without any gadgets. And the face is the main trigger to start tracking. Through that software, we are bringing the live casinos into live dealers into the metaverse. And we build a whole ecosystem with the games included. So with the branded studios for casinos, with the different games, even the custom games. And I believe if we speak specifically about live casinos, this is the only option at the moment, because why people love live casinos, firstly. Because they're not afraid that there's a scam somewhere. There's a real human, you can interact, you can chat. And actually, this is as well one important thing. So the factor that's like you can talk to the dealer about like random topics, like in live casino. Because if you go to the traditional offline casino, you will never be able to talk. The dealer will tell you like, okay, would you like to hit one more card? That's it. Basically, life experience. Interaction for the players should stay as live as possible. And for the players, we can talk about VR, definitely. But not for the casinos.
Thank you, Daniel. Well, and if we consider the legal perspective, Haley, what would you say? What should be doing companies to get ready for doing business in the metaverse?
So I think, as I said yesterday, there's a whole range of legal issues here. I think what's probably worth kind of stating at the outset is there is no regulation of the metaverse as though it's a different world to the world we're in here. So there are lots of laws, lots of regulations that will apply to activity that takes place in the metaverse, and I'll come on to talk a little bit about intellectual property. That said, many of our laws, and this is across all jurisdictions, are outdated. They don't necessarily work for that sort of environment. So we're seeing in certain spaces people trying to obviously try to future-proof the laws, but also trying to kind of work out how we deal with this. So we've got different regulators in all different spaces looking at that. I think one of the issues, and one that we've seen infringement cases, and it's kind of interesting to look at that, is intellectual property and how that works in a metaverse environment, especially where sometimes it's not obvious who a creator is. So we look at copyright, it's quite hard sometimes to work out actually who owns that copyright. In certain jurisdictions you can't register copyright, so it's again harder. In a jurisdiction that you can register copyright, looking at that, We've then obviously got the infringement stuff, and some of you may be aware if anyone's kind of followed the legal side of the sort of NFT and metaverse. So Hermes, the French designer, brought a IP infringement claim actually in the US, but against a creator or artist who I think sold about 100 NFTs, which were called the Mega Birkin bag. Hermes, unsurprisingly, brought an infringement claim. They were successful in that, and although the defense was kind of focused on, well, it's different and it's an online environment, and I think they tried to use the fair use exception in the US, which, for anyone that's familiar with that, is slightly broader than certainly what's in the UK. But they were not successful. Hermes did win that. So that's kind of seen at the moment as probably the landmark IP infringement case in the NFT space, and kind of also being looked at across the metaverse. So I think IP, and I could probably talk for hours about all the different bits, and you've obviously got design rights and we've got patents and stuff. But I wouldn't look at it and think, oh, we can just do that there because it's a sort of unregulated environment. That isn't how it's going to be treated, and we'll obviously see as it develops, and depending on where really use takes off in the metaverse, I think we'll then see possibly some more specific laws. But at the moment, it is really looking at what we've got today, and that is what's being applied. But data is the other area, I think, as well, where there's been quite a lot of discussion on how data transfers work, use of, I mean, you mentioned, I think, that using sort of data that's known about someone, do you actually have the consent in the metaverse if you've got the consent over here? So there's a lot to think about. I definitely think as a brand going into the metaverse, look at the IP, do a bit of an audit, and as someone who's going in and going close to using someone else's brand, think about infringement.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, lots of things to think about when it comes to the legal, and we will come back to that with very specific cases after we hear the solutions represented in this panel. Manuel, you have a very interesting solutions, and you have explored and you have provided something for the sporting events. Can you tell us about a bit of that experience in sporting events?
Mm-hmm, sure. So also looking at different technologies which I used here, for example, the kata thing. We did one project at a tennis event. So basically the first thing, and also the tricky part, is object recognition. So if you imagine you're scanning a tennis court, you somehow need to recognize a player. And this is done by this 3D object recognition. Luckily, our phones are already very, very powerful and can do much more things that we think it can do. But this object recognition is basically done with the smartphone depth sensors. So if you're taking a picture, those are already used, but they can be done with much more things. So those objects are then recognized, and then objects are overlaid with digital elements. For example, how much has the player run already during this game, or what's his heart pace whatsoever. So live data transferred into this real-time AR experience. Also, what we did was a very interesting project with a ski resort. So when you go skiing, you today see just a boring wall of all the ski pistes, seeing maybe what is open or not. But with AR, also mobile AR, what we did, we transferred this whole 2D image into a 3D experience. So you basically see the whole mountain. You can, for example, place it on a table or wherever. Then you see how high the mountain is in 3D, right? Like in a helicopter perspective, more or less. You see all the ski pistes, and with live data, you see what is open or not. So those are very relevant use cases which are not the future and are already there. And also you asked, how can people start or companies start? I think it's important wherever industry you're in, just play around with it, take €1,000, that's very often enough to just explore what can be done, make a demo, show it to a few clients, and that's it. And while doing that, you gain so much know-how, what fits to your industry, what fits to your target client. We always have to consider that, how ready is our customer to use new technologies, right? And by doing a demo like this, you will gain so much competence, and this gives you an edge in the new years coming in the ages of Web3 and metaverse.
Thank you, Manuel. And you're a young entrepreneur with an impressive history of action in entrepreneurship. And I think you're in a privileged position to understand the new generations. And we were discussing yesterday about like how, because we have this challenge of how the new markets, like the new generations as a growing market, are thinking, what's their mindset. So what are your thoughts when it comes to these immersive realities or augmented realities and the new generations as the market for that?
Yeah, it's interesting because the consumer is so far ahead. Whenever I show, for example, the AR solution, like a classic example, putting a sofa virtually in your own home, the consumer is like, wow, I need this, I want to use it when I shop sofas online. But the online shops, they are far behind. They are like, does the user really needs this? Does it increase my conversion rate, etc.? I don't know. Let's rather wait what the other companies are doing. And in retail, for example, I can say Amazon already rolled out AR for all the furniture products on the app. So this was kind of significant change. And since then, we see a lot of companies approaching us that they also want to do that. But very often it's already late, like they're late on the train. But yeah, as I said, I encourage everyone to try out, and the new generation is definitely loving this kind of stuff. Also about NFTs and digital ownership, what I mentioned yesterday. This is definitely a future aspect as well.
And the good news is that with not so much money, you can do quick, easy experiments to start learning, and innovation is about that. Like, let's tinker with the tools, the technology, and also understanding the needs of the market, of the people we are serving. Let's jump to the casino world. What are the possibilities for casinos in the metaverse? Daniel, why don't you tell us about the solutions you have?
So, I mean, the possibilities there are extremely, basically unlimited. So, let's say we need to first understand with which type of casino we're working. Is that like crypto casino, or it's a fiat money only, the casino which supports only fiat money, or it's both of them? So today we have a huge example, which is quite successful, Decentraland Metaverse. This is the biggest gambling metaverse in the world at the moment, with an amazing, huge revenue. But nowadays there's like much more tools to bring like very, very fresh and new experience into that. Just to give you an idea, like, again, what I can say, it's basically from our perspective of our project, the tool which brings the live dealers into the metaverse is the key. So without that, live casino not gonna basically exist in the metaverse, because other solutions, they're already there. Flexibility in payments, that's what we need to implement as well, because casinos should able to operate with any type of currencies and any type of money, digital, like crypto or fiat. So they need to be able to work with anything they wanted. So just to simplify and not go into those details, like what we are doing, we are using the API connections. So like, for example, if we have person from X casino and we are supporting this X casino, they can log in with their credentials, and all the deposits, balances, statistics, history gonna be already in the metaverse. Basically, one of the solutions as well, the fact that we have a live dealer, and it's around it's in our ecosystem, excluding the human errors, human mistakes. So like, let's imagine the blackjack round. So sometimes dealers, they like putting the cards on the wrong spot or dropping the cards on the floor accidentally. And in some cases, the round is just canceled. Basically, like, imagine if you are a player and you got your blackjack, you're not gonna receive your money because the round is canceled. So here, we still have a life experience, we still have a real human in the 3D environment, but he's not gonna be able to drop the card because the logic of the game not gonna allow him. So these small details, basically, I would say that we developed the perfect dealer, which is not able to make mistakes. Same for the players, because the biggest challenge to bring players into the 3D environment, to prove them that everything is true. I mean, that if dealer took the card, there is no like random shuffling inside of the card, and there's nothing is checking what you have with your first card. I mean, like, the idea is like to not give the bad card for the player. So because of that, if we go back a bit to the regulations, we as a metaverse casino providers, we still need to, like, for example, go through all the laboratory tests in every country where we want to operate, and same with the licenses. So it's true live casino experienced, approved by the regulators, where people can feel safe and have the basically new life experience.
Interesting. And how will you define the segment, the profile of the customers that will prefer this kind of metaverse immersive experience for a live casino instead of the already existing live casino?
Yeah, so first of all, there's a very important part, which is for what players like in live casinos. Basically, they go there to play the blackjack roulette games. Metaverse offers much more than just the games. And the clients, the players, and metaverse citizens, it's actually few different types of people. First of all, it's just people who are interested in Web3. I mean, there's the new metaverse, let's go and discover. Like, if I'm not wrong, like around 7% of Decentraland players, users, they're not playing there. They're just walk around and like, wow, metaverse. Another layer of users, the traditional players who just gonna see something fresh, something new, and just don't wanna try. And there is a question, will they like it or not? So here, it's more about how cool gonna be the technology. And the third layer is basically Web3 people who are already into Decentraland. They prefer Decentraland to the live casinos. They want to be into 3D environment. They like the benefits around, like they like the environment and everything what they can do there. So these three type of people, clients, they will be there. So basically, yeah.
Yeah, and it's very related to the new generations. Like new generations, as we were discussing with Manuel, are a growing market in terms of opportunities for this. So we have the in-person casino, then the live casino, and then another layer, and there's market for all of that. Haley, when you hear about these hands-on experiences like augmented reality for sporting events, online casino in the metaverse. So what comes to your mind in terms of regulatory aspects, legal aspects? What could you add to that?
I mean, Daniel mentioned that obviously what you're doing is still, you have licenses. So it kind of goes to the point that I said at the beginning, that from a regulatory and a broader legal perspective, this isn't a whole different thing where you're either unregulated or you're in a slightly different regulation. It is the same, it's just a different environment, and I think Daniel's point kind of shows that. One area that is interesting, and it'll be interesting to see how it develops, is sort of the platform liability point. So actually for the metaverse platforms, what liability do they take? And And as I think I mentioned yesterday, that is a space that is really moving in social media platforms. But I can't see regulators that are regulating that stuff. And across Europe, the Digital Services Act has brought more liability for the platforms in. And then in the UK, the Online Safety Bill is going actually in some ways further than even the DSA. But I don't think it's right to look at that and think, oh, that's just about Instagram or TikTok. I think actually, especially given that this is all being kind of put into place now, I think regulators will be looking at that as well to say, actually, platforms, the metaverse platforms will also need to take some liability when we have things like user-generated content, etc. So that is a space that is moving, and there's anyone here from the UK will know it's been one of the most, from a legal perspective, I think you don't often get things that are so much in the mainstream press, but the online safety bill and liability of platforms and some of the stuff we've seen around under 18s, etc. as well, it is a really hot topic, and I think it does apply as well when we look at the metaverse, etc.
An ongoing conversation, yeah. Thank you, Hayley. Let's jump to the Web3 topic, and Web3 is completely dependent on the blockchain technology. So if we are about, we were mentioning yesterday the fact of Web3 as the new iteration of the internet, where we own our own data, and has been discussed a lot in this conference. And I would like to ask Marcin, as an expert in blockchain, what is the current status of this tech? How far are we of really experiencing in our daily life this owning our own data, and the possibilities for companies in terms of dealing with blockchain?
Okay, thank you. So, few things regarding the Daniel mentioned that you don't need blockchain in metaverse. It's true. And it's very important to understand when you should use the blockchain technology, because you couldn't use the blockchain everywhere. You should use the blockchain where you can resolve the problem. And this problem can be resolved only by the blockchain. Then you can monetize your business model. This is the first one. The second one is that the blockchain is not only the metaverse, it's not the NFT, it's not the DeFi, CeFi, it's also micropayments, smart contracts, it's also wallets. So the different things together give you some opportunities. So if you ask me about the blockchain and the current status, what is the Web3? So the Web3 is you generate the data and you monetize this data. It's different than Web2. Web2, you generate the data and the big company monetize your data. So, and I think we are in the early stage. What I mentioned yesterday is something like 19 years. It's something like Windows 95. And I will tell you why. So who has a bank account or something like that, or Facebook account? Who has with you guys? Okay, so, and what are you doing when you lost your or forgot your password?
I click the forgot password button.
Exactly. So if you have bank account and you have a money there, or you have a Instagram or Facebook and you generate the data and you have an account, you forgot your password, you can restore your password, or you can call to the support and you can recover your password. And if you're talking about the blockchain technology, Web3, and you generate your data, you spend a lot of time to generate your data and you monetize this data. So you can decide, I can share this data with this company or this company and I can earn money. But it's a huge problem when you forgot your password, your private key. So mostly you lost your data. And of course, the blockchain is every day improving. So I believe that in the future you can recover the private key as the same as today with the password. But today is not possible so very easy. And I think that users' habits is very difficult because user is comfortable. They don't care about the secure, they don't care about everything around. They want to monetize the data. This is very important. They don't care about the rest. So I think we need a time, we need education, the users, and tell them the Web3 is very good, but you have to care about your secure, about your privacy, about everything around what are you doing here.
Thank you, Marcin. These three topics, the metaverse, the NFT, and the Web3, is it's material for long discussions. And I will also encourage you to approach Manuel or Daniel to see the technologies and the solutions they have, how they work. I was playing with them, it's really interesting. Unfortunately, we run out of time, but I will encourage all of us to spend more time tinkering, exploring, doing small experiments with these technologies and solutions around the metaverse, NFT, and blockchain. So thank you very much, guys, for your insights, your ideas, very much. Thank you very much.